talked very briefly at the very top of the show, Patrick Walsh, about the big story of the day. And I'll be honest with you, as I read more and more into it, it reads like a movie script. It reads like a Hollywood movie script directed
exactly what you told me when we walked in this morning.
Directed by Martin Scorsese at that. And so if you're late to the party, if you haven't heard just yet, Portland Trail Blazers head coach Chauncey Billups, a former NBA star, an NBA champion, and a Hall of Famer, as well as Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier, from the former Cleveland Cavaliers player, former Miami Heat player, as well as former Cavs assistant coach and player Damon Jones. These are three of the big names arrested today, a part of a wide-ranging investigation into both illegal sports betting and rigged poker games backed by the Mafia. That's right, the Mafia. We're talking about...
What world are we living in right now?
This is insane. This is insane. And the details make it even more insane. So... at the heart of this is two different investigations by the FBI, and the new FBI director is Kash Patel, and they are trying to root out crime both in New York and around the country as it relates to sports gambling and just illegal activity altogether. The families that are involved are the famous 5 families that are in and around the New York area, Italian and Sicilian ancestry that goes all the way back to like the 1930s here in America.
Yes.
This is a very, very old, organized crime family. Well, families, I should say. Well, 4 of the 5 families have now been tied to these 2 investigations and the big names that are in the sports world. Of course, the sports world is the one that drew the attention from all of us here in the actual sports world. But it's interesting today, 34 people arrested in total, and what Kash Patel, the FBI director, called it mind-boggling fraud in all of today's stuff. And so
it's a good way to put it. This is mind-boggling.
Yes, it is. It is. And as for some of the details, Terry Rozier, he was implicated as far as having a betting insider information, and it's pointed specifically to a game in March of 2023.
And he was already investigated for this.
Yes,
the
exactly.
NBA cleared him of any wrongdoing, and now, you know, it almost makes you wonder how deep did that NBA investigation go?
Right, and how long had it been going on, and if the NBA ended up doing a full investigation, or maybe not digging deep enough into how all these things went. But Terry Rozier, apparently in March 2023, he tells an accomplice, hey, I'm going to fake an injury, bet all my unders. More than $200,000 were put on it. He ends up winning the money. And of course, this is illegal. That's the game. He exits early because of a foot issue. Better discussed that Rozier would exit the game, citing that insider information. Unusual amount of prop bets on Rozier, mostly on the under, because obviously if he averages about 17.
Yes.
I just kind of eyeballed at what he was averaging into that game. It was probably anywhere between 16 points and maybe 20 points per game on average. He knew he was going to leave. Obviously makes it easy for an under prop bet. He tells his buddies, they collect the cash, and then here we are today. And this is a guy, Terry Rozier, who signed a 4-year, $96 million deal.
It's not like he's some guy that's a two-way guy going back and forth between
Correct.
the G League that
Correct.
just needs to make some money to
Right.
help his family out. No,
Right.
this guy's already got money. So what
yes.
are we doing here?
Absolutely paid.
I'm honestly stunned.
Yes.
I'm shocked.
Yes, me too. And even if you're just trying to hook up your buddies with a gambling bet, I mean, don't do it on yourself. Like, these things always come to the light. They always do. Everything that's done in the darkness will come to the light. And we've seen this now in a lot of different ways. And point shaving in basketball, we're not going to act like it started with this NBA investigation.
Right.
This has gone on for decades now.
Yes.
Since the early 70s. And the Mafia being involved. What ends up usually happening is that a guy makes a one-day agreement with the Mafia or somebody that's in the Mafia. And then the Mafia has you hooked. Because now they can always hold it against you that they will tell the proper authorities, and now you have to comply. I'm not saying that's what happened here. I'm just saying that this is the way that it usually does happen. We saw Arizona State and a few other point-shaving scandals.
And here's an interesting thing that I literally just saw. So ESPN, on their Get Up segment today, removed their ESPN Bet logo.
Yeah.
So I wonder You know, I was also reading some comments, and some people were like, "Oh, I wonder how many DraftKings sponsorships or ads we're going to see tonight with the NBA games."
Yeah, well, it was interesting because I mean, you can't turn on a television these days.
No.
Isn't LeBron James and Kevin Hart, aren't they on a commercial for
Yes.
DraftKings right now? Like I saw Shaq with Kevin Hart on a commercial for the NBA. Gambling is everywhere, and one of the things I said, and I'll zoom out just a little bit, so to speak. The thing about gambling in America is the fact that it was done for decades in these very seedy, you had to have a bookie that's in a back alley.
Right.
Unless you're in Atlantic City or in Las Vegas where you could bet legally, you had to do it kind of underground.
Yeah.
And now everything has shifted because now not only are the DraftKings, the FanDuels, and the sites that started as fantasy now opening sportsbooks, we have sportsbooks everywhere now, both on the mainland and offshore. The ones that are offshore aren't obviously regulated the exact same way, but still, I mean, it's an easy paper trail to follow.
Oh, yeah.
And now that it's regulated, it can be taxed, and now it's a legal practice. But what we've done is we've shifted the pendulum so far the other way is that I don't think America was ready for gambling to be this wide open, this widespread, and billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars in money now comes to both all these leagues and all these individual teams and players and obviously fans as well.
I think I've said to you a couple times before, if I were to ever just stumble upon $10 million, if I ever were to like hit the lottery or something, just go open up a sports book at this point.
Yes.
I mean, like, with how much it's just exploded over the last few years.
Right.
I know ESPN for the longest time, they denied anything. They would not allow anything to go out about gambling and betting and stuff. And now they have their own sports book.
Yes, exactly. And as the laws got laxed as far as being able to punish a sports betting, and as the states found out, oh, hey, here's a revenue stream. Let's open this water spigot and let's let all this money shovel in a legal way. Now, here's the thing. I'm not going to act like I'm on some high horse. I love gambling. I love to bet.
Yeah,
I love betting on sports. I bet. Yes, I didn't bet yesterday, but I will bet today. I'll bet some games on Saturday. We're doing it all legally, doing it all above board. And I have no insider information. I'm just coming in thinking that, well, you know what, Brian Kelly and them can pull the upset. Now, in my opinion, where this does get a little shady and a little seedy is the fact that you now have athletes who can control the outcome of games.
Yes.
Now not knowing where the line is. Either they don't know it or they blatantly ignore it. And I think a lot of them, confidence is the way that you get to the top of your sport.
Yes.
And having almost a delusional sense of self is a way that a lot of these people say, I'm the best of the best, I'm the 1%. It gets them there to that territory. And I wonder if it's that same mindset that makes them go into areas where they know they shouldn't go. Because for most of these guys, they all went to college.
Right.
And the one thing they tell you in college all the time, they'll hammer it in your head. Don't bet on it. Don't bet on it. Don't bet on it. And they tell you everything. Don't bet on anything. If you're a college player, don't bet on baseball. Don't bet on football. Now, I don't see anything wrong with that, but it does open a door for that to be something that, you know, can harm you in the future. And unfortunately, too many times we have seen this again and again and again.
And it's just so frustrating because it can easily be prevented by just not doing it.
Yep.
I mean, how are we still at the point where we've seen all of the outcomes? We've seen Jonte Porter get banned for life.
Yeah.
We're seeing it in the MLB right now. Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz they're probably going to get banned for life. Saw it back in like the 1930s with the Black Sox.
Yes, right.
I mean, what are we doing? Like, why are we still doing this?
And
I just don't understand.
I've never understood it, and I think a lot of it always comes back to greed, and you know, and whether it's because for a Terry Rozier, to me, his situation makes no sense. And we'll dive into the Chauncey Billups one because that is a separate case that is just even.
You want to go into it right now because I mean,
sure.
I'm shocked by this.
Yes. So on the Chauncey Billups case, it's a different operation here in this one. Goes back to an illegal poker operation that was tied to the mafia, and this thing was high tech.
Yeah, you want to take a look at this?
There were X-ray machines that were built into the tables, reading cards that were face down. There was players that were involved that were called the Fish. These are high dollar players that wanted to rub shoulders with millionaires, rub shoulders with current and former pro athletes. basketball players, football players, and you get a guy like Chauncey Billups,
Yep.
and a guy that's like, okay, well, we'll play poker together, and that was the end. To be able to get the hook on the bait on the hook, so to speak. Now they have their fish, and now they're reeling them in. They're reeling them in with all this money, and the games are rigged, and it's all now led by the mafia. And one of the big things that kind of blew me was just high tech this entire operation was. I mean, we're talking about contact lenses. We're talking about glasses,
secret cameras, X-ray machines.
I mean, and all this to swindle people out of millions and millions and millions of dollars. For a guy like we said, Kash Patel, the FBI director, talked about this. The names, the quote-unquote sexy names that are on top of this thing, is the reason why the FBI, if you watched their press conference today, they were just absolutely insane. The names at the top of the thing will draw the headlines of the sports fans. However, Simone Eli, as you join us today, this...
Good afternoon, guys.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going great. This, to me, felt like one of those things where I'm only left asking, typically, when quick aside, when Dejounte Murray, who is a two-way player who's not making a lot of money, when he's involved in a point-shaving scandal, I understand it. I'm like, okay, well, don't do it. It's illegal. You're probably going to lose your career, but
Sure.
I understand it.
Sure.
This situation has made me say why 15 times.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Well, I think that there's a couple things to remember here, right? So they've all been indicted, right? So everyone in this country is innocent.
Yes.
Until proven guilty.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
let's, I'll remember that part of it, of course. But it is interesting to read the detail. I think I was one thing I mentioned to you and Patrick when we were first I was learning about this and kind of asking you guys, like, what does all of this entail? Like, how is this this intricate? How many people are involved and going on and on? It is kind of mind-blowing. And not just who or how, or not really just who, but really the how. To me, it's okay, yes, this is somebody who made how much money?
More than $100 million.
Okay, so
in Rozier's case, and probably close to that in Bill's case.
And Hall of Famer, I mean, you have reputation. That's there's so many things that get put on the line when you start to get involved in these sort of things that you certainly start to just wonder, okay, like why do you want to get involved? Why is this something that is attractive to people that you conceivably have a ton of money? You never know their situation.
Sure.
Once you start getting in gambling debts, we've seen that in baseball. You get in situations that aren't great, and then you start to just do more of that to try to combat what you've already gotten a part of, and that's usually how this goes. But again, I think it's just shocking to see the amount of detail, the amount of what has taken place to really get to this point. I mean, when you look at like you mentioned, the contact lenses, the X-ray tables.
Yes.
What? I mean, to me, that's what I'm most impressed by is the how more than I am anything else is how all of this went about. But again, obviously it's going to go be in the courts for however long. This is what we've seen for, through all these celebrities that have done kind of silly things. It gets drawn out, and then you see how it ends up. So.
And I think obviously when you invoke the Italian and Sicilian
that was crazy.
mafia into it too, there is a level of theatrics that kind of plays out on the larger stage. And the FBI, their main job, they want to root out organized crime.
Sure.
Because the FBI, I mean, in the grand scheme of crimes, this one's very small. In the grand scheme of just criminal behavior, this one is small. But what the mafia has been tied to in the past, I think that's what they're trying to get rid of, and they've just stumbled on a gold mine.
When you can go have these people who folks who recognize, like if you go just have, if this was just out there and it was Joe Schmo off the street,
right,
okay, or it was Patrick Walsh, right? They're like, okay, who's this guy, right? Running this operation, right? But when you go tie it to an NBA Hall of Famer, an NBA coach, a current NBA player, or in the case in two separate cases or whatever, and these are the guys that are allegedly involved in these situations, then it takes a whole new, people, it really captures people's attention, and wow, it's like, okay, this takes a whole new life form when it's not just such and such up the block. So when you can tie your case to names like that, then you start to scare maybe some folks straight, maybe.
I mean, it as is. Like, we're already concerned about the integrity in sports right now. I mean, we just talked about Jonte Porter being banned 2 years ago. The two guys in the MLB that are currently under investigation probably going to get banned. And this just adds a whole nother layer to it. I mean, it's shocking.
What I thought was funny, guys, is like just yesterday they officially determined that college athletes and college coaches
right.
can bet on pro sports. I mean, we're opening Pandora's box, y'all.
Timing,
it is like, how can we just open, like, it's like when you shake a soda, and you just open the top and you're like, boom.
It's everywhere.
Let's see what happens. It's going to, I mean, you talk about just because what happens to great college athletes? They go to the pros. I don't know, how they know how that works. You're great in college, and then you go to the pros. You don't lose the people that are there in college necessarily. In fact, especially some of these folks that are a little bit sketchy, they're hanger-oners, right? You go to the pros, they're right there. Hey, like, hey man, hey, you know how we had that little deal about so and so,
right?
With the Knicks back when you were playing over at Boston College.
Yeah.
Well, now you're with the Knicks, so you want to maybe we're with the Knicks now, and they're at Boston College. You could do it then. Can we do it now? And maybe you can just sit out this game?
Yeah.
You think it's not going to happen?
No, and it does happen.
Absolutely, it's going to happen.
And if you go back, Patrick and I were talking about it, point shaving is not anything new. I mean, this has been going on for decades, especially when it ties to the mafia. And this is the genesis of it. I'm not saying this happened in this case, but this is the genesis of it, and this is the reason why it can get really sticky. It's because the mafia comes up to a guard who might owe a little bit of money and says, hey, your prop bet is X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
Your prop bet is X amount of points. Make sure you're under. Or the team is supposed to win by X amount of points. Make sure it's under. Or it's over. If you need to, score a bucket late, a lot of times it's the under because that's the one you can't control. You can control misses, not always can control makes. Usually what happens is the first time it happens, the player thinks, okay, I did it, I fulfilled it, I've made my money. No, you've now opened it. Yep. Because now the mafia has that over your head the entire time moving forward. I'll tell your coach, I'll tell the cops.
So you're solidifying what I just mentioned about the college guys being able to be a part of this, and then what that can mean if you are then have ties to the league at some point. I mean, it just opens up a lot of iffiness. Right. I mean, what you're saying right now, you're spot on, and I think personally, we're starting to see, and you told me this years ago. You're like, Simone, you want to learn a little bit about betting. You might want to learn a little bit about gambling because it's going to get crazy. And I feel like this is something that's in the headlines more often than it's not nowadays. There is just blowing up the capacity in which we are seeing illegal sports gambling, betting shows. I mean, you name it.
Yes.
It is just everywhere now. It's so in front of your face. If you're not doing it, you're me, and you're like, on the outside looking in.
One of the most ironic things was watching the coverage today and watching it on sports networks. And I'm not going to say the sports networks by name because everybody is now taking money from the sports gambling world. So I'm not going to pinpoint anybody. Heck, this show might be sponsored at some point by a gambling operation. But one of the things I found...
DraftKings.
It's
the only one that I know.
But sincerely speaking of DraftKings, it's not crazy to watch an ESPN show, and in that commercial break is Kevin Hart and LeBron James out here cracking jokes about gambling. And I saw it with Shaquille O'Neal.
DraftKings?
Yes.
There is a sports network named after FanDuel.
Yes.
FanDuel has the naming rights on a sports network.
Right.
That's how crazy it's gotten.
And ESPN has ESPN Bet. And I just think what happened was in this country, and this might just take a while, in this country, gambling was so seedy back in the day. The way that you used to be able to gamble, and I'm not going to get into all the details of the way that I got into it to begin with, but it used to be...
Into gambling or into talking about gambling?
Into gambling. Talking about gambling, I think I've been doing since I was in college. But it used to be, meet a bookie at the brown paper bag at the alley on a Tuesday. And if you won a couple hundred...
in Tennessee when they were giving the guy money and like...
No, the McDonald's bags. It's the McDonald's bag's cousin. That was how you handled it.
It ain't too far off. It's all right there.
It's how you handled it at the beginning.
Same family.
And now it's way more mainstream. But you're trying to play two things because you're also telling the college athlete, hey, we will allow you to bet on professional games. But just like you said, if your roommate is now a player in the NBA and they know the game plan against whoever...
We can walk away with $200,000 if you just decide to, miss 4 layups and leave with a broken ankle. All right?
I'll tell you, Johnny B wasn't in the scouting report. Might want to go under on all his bets.
And Johnny B's name is LeBron. All right, guys. Patrick's telling us to go to break because we're going to get into Pandora's box even more so on this show. We'll be right back in 2.5.